Hello, Steve White, Steve Out. So, well, I've been reviewing the Psycho films because I watched them all last night to sort of pay tribute to Olivia Hussey, who's in the last film. And I also watched the Bates Motel pilot TV film thing. I actually watched it after the remake, but I'm just going through the reviews in chronology. But it's so awful. There are very few really awful films that I just you just look at it and you go, how did this happen? How did this happen? They had such a great, simple premise. Let's just have Norman Bates running the Bates Hotel again as a TV series. It could have been done several ways. It could have been him back to his old tricks, killing people, and the police trying to catch him. It could have been, a cat and mouse thing, or it could have been the hotel is haunted from all the old killings. And you could have an anthology series sort of thing where every week they've got a different guest coming in for a different story. There are so many ways this could have been done, and it could have been brilliant. They could have gone back, I guess, and because basically they had the set there, it was iconic. They had people going there to visit it and that, and they're just like, we need to just use this set, this property, this IP, and they could have retold Norman's story as a child. They could have done so many things, which they later did with Bates Motel, the other series, which was brilliant. But no, this one is, God, it's bad. It's just so many levels of how did this happen? How is it that bad? Okay, so we show Norman Bates getting put away and befriending this boy who killed his father in the institution. He dies in the institution, and he wills the hotel to this guy who gets out, tries to run it. He meets a girl played Laurie Petty who's been hanging out in the hotel, in the house, I think, and she helps him try and set it up to be run again. And this character he's sort of sympathetic because he's grown up in an institution. He doesn't know how to be a normal person, and he's played by this odd-looking actor. And the performance isn't as bad as I remember. The character isn't as bad as I remember, but it's more how they ruin the whole idea that they just had this great premise. They could have gone many different ways, and how they got it this wrong. It just makes no sense. Basically, he decides to renovate the hotel. So the iconic Bates Hotel, he somehow gets the money to renovate it, which is ridiculous. And they basically build this new modern sort of, I think it's Mexican-style restaurant. And they sort of redo the facade of the hotel to look more modern and look different from the hotel. And you still have the Bates house in the mansion up in the background. But they've sort of built this restaurant sort of check-in area at the end of the L-shaped sort of hotel. So it just changes the appearance, the look of it. And why they would spend money redressing a set that already existed, they could have just walked onto it and done nothing to make it unappealing, uninteresting, and take it away from that original art. That part of the production, I just don't understand who did that, why they did that. Why would you spend more money pulling away from something that you went there to take advantage of? It makes no sense. And it makes no sense story-wise, because where would he get the money to do this anyway? I know he does find it, but it's just ridiculous. And then they finally, at an hour and 4 minutes, it's an hour and 34-minute TV film, pilot, whatever, they get to... there's a whole conspiracy about how someone's trying to sabotage him setting up the hotel. They find the bodies of... They also changed the backstory as well. And they find the bodies of Mrs. Bates, who apparently was buried on the property. So they're trying to change this. It's not even Norma Bates, it's Gloria Bates or something. And it's just like, they're actually trying to do a different story and actually get away from Norman while still using Norman and contradicting the other films. They contradict themselves a little bit as well. So it's a bit of a mess. Because in the second film, they established Norma Bates wasn't Norman's real mother. Another woman was, her sister. But then when they get back to the fourth film, they act like none of that existed. And they show his father's death, which is described in the other film as being a murder by the jealous sister. That's why she tries to kidnap the son, and why she ends up being put in a mental institution. Apparently that doesn't happen, and we see, unless he had another father, that he thought of as his real father, that could explain. I guess you can canon it in your brain if you really try and make it make sense. But yeah, so they also find Jake Bates, the husband who was buried on the property. Apparently she killed him out of jealousy, and then it's just a mess. And then we have a guy dressing up as Mrs. Bates trying to scare Norman. He's unveiled, and then he's attacked by another Mrs. Bates, basically with the same mask, and it's basically Laurie Petty trying to scare him into confessing while he was trying to scare Norman. And then we go on to the story of the pilot to show, hey, we can do a TV series, an anthology series with this. Some woman shows up at the hotel once it's sort of, up and running, and she's planning to end things like her life. And this girl shows up who has the wrong room, and they start talking, and she basically says, I know what you're going to do. You're going to end your, suffering. And all the people that she's taken her out to meet, because she drags her out, she said, you have to come and party with us and dance, and they're all ghosts of people who did that. And she decides not to end things. And that's the little half-hour story episode at the end of this movie. It's just such a sloppy mess of things that don't work. They could have easily just had him come in, take over the hotel, because the idea of Anthony Perkins not coming back, not using Norman, writing another person who inherited the hotel, they could have just had Norman say he didn't want to run it anymore and just have someone else running it. Like, if I did this, someone would come in to run the hotel, it's haunted, they have murders randomly and you don't know, has Norman come back, is it people taking advantage of the legend of the place? You could have the place be haunted, things just happen. You could have, the person of the week sort of staying in the hotel and it's their story, what's happened to them. It could have been a great series, and I see how someone thought that we could do a great series out of this, and then they hand it to people who are obvious imbeciles who absolutely ruined it and made a mess out of it. And then at the end they try and tack on this little story like, this is what we could do each week. And the end of the thing literally has this guy, and I'm forgetting his name, the character, basically talking to the camera saying, oh gee, I don't know what could happen next week, but anything could happen, as they sort of pull out on a crane of him standing sort of in the car park of the hotel, like with this goofy music. There's a real goofy tone to the pilot movie, whatever this is. They have Laurie Petty in a chicken suit at one point because that's what she's doing for work, and she shows up like that when she first confronts him, and so much goofy stuff. Some of it almost works because he's really innocent at the very, very, very beginning, but they take it too far and it becomes a part of they try and make it a tone of the actual film or episode, while at the same time they try and make it scary at times, and the two things are conflicting. And then the end plays more like a sort of episode of The Twilight Zone, or more of a straight drama, and it's just an absolute mess. And the only reason why I can even bear to watch it is because the house does look well. It's photographed quite well in the background in a few shots and that. Yeah, that's about it though. And it's just such a pity. Obviously they didn't take this up. It was released on video. I remember seeing it in a video store for years. It took me a while to rent it. I eventually rented it and I was like, wow, that was bad. Just try to forget about it. But then when they did the box set, it was included along with a feature-length documentary, which was a 2-disc set that had a lot of stuff. So it's like they're just throwing everything in they could to make the box set really complete. And this film got thrown in there on DVD, not on Blu-ray like the other films. And yeah, it's just a travesty, because if we could have gotten an 80s Psycho series with Norman Bates running the hotel, or someone else running the hotel and it's haunted, and we could just have sort of like a Freddy's Dead, Friday the 13th style series, which is what they were aiming for in syndication, where each week there's a different horror story told at the Bates Motel, it would have been amazing. Because the new series we got, Bates Motel, with I forgot the name of the actors, but was it Frankie? Freddie Hyman? I can't remember his name. I forget to say his name wrong. But that was very much a drama about Norman Bates coming of age and the bad relationship between his mother and how he becomes Norman Bates, which was interesting, but not the same, story of the week we could have gotten. That sort of, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Friday's Curse sort of style sort of series that we could have had an anthology series, horror series. It would have been great. So this is one of the great tragedies of Hollywood, I think, of what happened to this. It could have been an absolute brilliant classic TV series. Instead, it was an absolutely god-awful miniseries. And how they didn't just say, okay, that's so bad, but the idea is good. Let's try and do another one. How they didn't still make a TV series out of this because it was so prime for it, I don't know. But this is what we got: a one-off, straight-to-video, bad TV movie, uneven tone, ridiculous story, absolutely undermined itself by remaking the very hotel it was taking advantage of, its image and legend. It's just everything. I just can't say enough bad about this film. It's so easy to do a review about a bad film. Try to do a review about a good film, you're struggling at like 2 minutes to get to anything interesting. This film, I could go on about how bad it is, but I'm going to stop there. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. You don't need to watch this film unless you just want to see shots of the house. I would just watch this review and be grateful that you were spared watching the film. I watched this again so you didn't have to. I reviewed it so you don't have to watch it. I'm going to go. Bye.